My dad was a famous Blackhawk. He won the Norris Trophy 3 times. He won the Stanley Cup once.
Well, when I'm asked that question, who my dad is, I say he's my dad. That's the first answer. But to most other people, he is a famous hockey player. And I kind of knew him more as a dad before I knew him as a hockey player kind of thing.
He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he won 3 Norris trophies during that time, and a Stanley Cup in 1961.
My name is Pierre Palat. Middle name is Paul. I was born in Kenogami, Quebec in 1931. I spoke French till I was 12 years old. Then we moved to Fort Erie and started learning English. No, it was a town, a paper mill town, where there was a railroad track running through the town. And on one side of the track were English people, and they work at the mill. And the mill was owned by English people. Of course, on this side of the track, it was us. And once in a while, we always threw rock at each other. So I guess the first word I learned is come on and fight, eh?
Well, enforcer, perhaps, what they say now, but he was in a lot of fights and, protecting players, and plus he was a defenseman.
Basically, he was just a kid that came from northern Quebec to Fort Erie in the late 40s, I guess, when he was about 15 years old. And out of a passion, started playing hockey with no real training, just trying out, and wanted to make teams, wanted to excel at things, and just went about and did it.
I went to practice with the junior B in Fort Erie, and they were in the playoff. I just asked if I could go on the ice, so we went on the ice, me and my line mate, and I scored about 3 goals in the practice. And after the practice, I went up to the coach and I says, "Hey, did I make the club?" And the fella says, "Well, look, you're pretty good, but," he says, "we don't need forward, we need defensemen." That's okay. When I started playing hockey, they asked me if I could play with them again. I said, "Well, yes, I will, if you let me play defense." So that's how I switched over to defense. And then Rudy Pillis kind of came over to our house and asked me to try out with his junior A in St. Catharines, and from St. Catharines, Buffalo, and that's how it happened.
He used to study guys. I remember one time we moved into a newer subdivision, right? And I said, "Dad, what are you doing standing there watching that guy dig the ditch?" He says, "Because I got to dig the ditch in the backyard next weekend, and I'm watching how efficient he is." I go, "What do you mean?" He says, "Look at it, the guy's digging the ditch. It's like a work of art." I said, okay. And I'm sure that's how he made it in hockey.
He called it picking people's brains. Basically, that's listening to people and seeing their movements and their intentions, and gaining knowledge from how they gone through something that you could learn from.
I would call myself a copier, okay, and I would remember how to. So in the NHL, I probably start copying a couple players, whether they were forwards, centermen, defensemen. But the big move when I was in Buffalo, I used to play left side defense. So when this coach came to us in Buffalo, his name was Frankie Edels. He wanted to play with me because I had the young leg and he was in his 30. So he said to me, he said, look, Pierre, he says, you play with me, but you play on the right side. I said, well, I never played on the right side. So he was pretty smart. He said, look, Pierre, he said, why don't you want to play on the right side? I said, well, because I don't shoot right, I shoot left. Oh, well, he says, you know what? This fellow in Montreal, his name is Doug Harvey. He shoots left, but he plays right. And I'm starting to think he was the best defenseman in the league, eh? I said, oh, yeah. So guess what? I started copying him.
He'd study people and learn how to do whatever task they were good at. So he learned how to become a defenseman, because that's what role needed to be filled.
On Sundays when I got older, I used to go to the hockey games, and we used to sit beside my dad on a little bench that was right beside the big bench.
And it was really cool because my dad, being a defenseman, most of the time he was coming in and out of that gate. So I literally was like 4 or 5 feet from him all the time, and all this stuff was going on the ice. And so you'd see some of a lot of the drama happen right from the bench.
I remember going to hockey games and stuff, but I was there for, for the peanuts. I was only like 5 or 6.
I remember him being on the ice. I remember going on the ice in Chicago. I have some very, magical childhood moments like most children would. And we got to do some fun things. Didn't seem like it was anything out of the normal.
It's kind of hard in the neighborhood not for people to know, because part of a promotion for local dealerships was they'd give my father a brand new Plymouth Fury 3 with Blackhawk Star Car written on the side of it. So everybody in the neighborhood knew who we were.
If somebody said, oh, do you know who her dad is? And then the cat's out of the bag, and then, of course, all the conversation starts. That was difficult sometimes, because you just wanted to be known as yourself, not as Pierre Plot's daughter, which was sometimes harder.
Yeah, I think I was very, I'm very proud of my dad, and I would have, I think when I was younger, I would have shared that with friends.
I was kind of embarrassed by the attention, sort of, and so I never really said anything till much later where people would, be interested in hockey or say something.
You're happy first time, and the second time you kind of say, well, I deserve it, and the third time you deserve it. But then I came second 3 times, and I said, oh, I really deserved it, but they were goals that I set for myself, but not thinking all the time about it, just trying to play my best. That's what it was. It's still an honor, to say that I won 3 and came second 3 times. And especially when I started so late in my career, I didn't play organized hockey till I was 17. My reaction was kind of, I really played well. I think I came to the top of my game at that time, but it took 2 or 3 days to sunk in. I didn't jump up in the air and threw my hat around and just really get excited. It took 2 or 3 days, and I finally realized what I had accomplished, because I was really kind of wired to be, have confidence, don't play with too much stress, and I really played well. I was the leading scorer. Yeah, that's pretty good. Going back, that's pretty good.
The next biggest event in my life was when he was entered in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And we got all dressed up and went for the event. Now, the event wasn't as large as some of the events now, but to us it was huge, and it was a great honor for him to be put in after so many years. There was an allotment.
It was really significant that he did play hockey, because I, at that point, really didn't, appreciate.
I really think that I was fortunate to be gifted with the body that had the ability and to move on and do all the things I've done. And I really think that a lot of it is kind of, I would call it luck or fortunate, you know, but being at the right place, the right time, doing the right thing, because there's an awful lot of fork on the road and you got to take the right one. I got to tell you, the first one I won, it was not a trophy, it was a plaque.
Oh, okay.
Guess what? That didn't cost any money. The next year, I said, I don't need a plaque. I'd like to have a miniature trophy. You know what they said to me? It'll cost you $50. So I paid $50. No shit. $50. Isn't that something? Then the next year, I had won again. I had to give up $50.